Anytime someone has successfully restructured their debt, whether it's a proposal or a bankruptcy, they are required to do what's known as counseling. Now, the counseling is normally done with the trustee. I am a licensed counselor myself, but they changed the rules back in 2018, so they still want the clients to see the trustee. But we follow up with something that we call aftercare at Four Pillars. The idea being that it's I don't think it's politically incorrect to say this. It's more involved than the counseling. The counseling tends to be done fairly quickly, and especially when it comes to the budgeting. I like to say that I do real budgeting as opposed to here's a budget, fill it out, or here's a sheet with a bunch of expenses listed, fill it out. That doesn't help people. Not at all, especially if the person has never budgeted before or they've never been able to successfully keep and maintain and stick to a budget. So when it comes to budgeting, I can't cover everything in a video. Budgeting really has to be done one-on-one. But I have found over the years that what seems to get through to people the best is not the spreadsheets. It's not, comparing your actual to your budget. No, nobody does that, by the way. Okay, you might it's like counting calories. Nobody really does it. You might know someone, but they're 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000. When it comes to budgeting, even I think I'm a pretty good budgeter, but even I don't do that. What I tell people, especially because most people will not become particularly good budgeters in their life, meaning they're not going to get to the level of budgeting where they can sit down, look at a spreadsheet, look at their information, and start actually planning things out for over the course of several months or a year. Where do I want to be? And most people aren't going to get there. And it's not necessarily a lack of intelligence or a lack of aptitude, or they're just no good or they're lazy. It's not their thing. Okay, not everyone's going to have chiseled abs. Even if they take good care of themselves, it's not going to happen for everyone. What I tell people though is good budgeting is more about good habits. And good habits come from what I believe is good mindset. And so if there's one idea I'd like to get across to people, it's to sort of paint a scenario, and here it is. Because as human beings, the biggest challenge we have with budgets, the biggest challenge people have with staying above water, staying afloat, not spending more than they make, is human nature itself. We tend to eat whatever's on our plate. All right? If I put 3 pancakes in front of you, you're going to eat them. And if I put 13 pancakes in front of you, most people are going to try to eat it. They may not be successful, but they're going to try. Why? Because it's there. It's the same way with money, guys. People get money, they spend it. And they get a raise, they spend the whole thing. They get a raise again. Guys, there's a reason professional athletes are broke. Not all of them, but a lot of them. They make $16 million a year. They spend 16 or 17. So I try to get through to people an outlook, and this is not everything I tell them, but it's a little exercise. It's a little thought experiment that I find seems to hit home with a lot of people. So hopefully this will ring true for you. I'd like you to imagine that it's New Year's Eve, okay? New Year's Eve, you're having a great time, partying, doing whatever it is you do on New Year's. If you're anything like me, you probably fall asleep around 11:15 and wake up just in time for everyone to do the countdown and then say, okay, time to go. I'm a real exciting person. But hopefully you have a better time than I do. Anyways, New Year's Eve ends. The next morning at 7 a.m., there's a knock at your door. Now, of course, you're all hungover and tired, but you answer the door anyways, and lo and behold, who's standing there? It's your boss. Kind of, what's this guy doing here? And you say, hi, what's happening? Boss looks at you and says, good morning, Happy New Year. And he holds out an envelope, and you take the envelope, okay, and you say, thanks, is this like a belated Christmas gift or something? Nope, that's your salary. And you look at the boss and say, well, you just send me a check every 2 weeks. Why'd you personally show up for this one? And your boss goes on to explain, well, we have a new policy at the office. See, we're no longer doing bi-weekly payments. That's your salary. That's it for the year. That's the whole thing. And sure enough, you open it up and you look, oh my God, it's let's say you make $60,000 a year. Well, that's about, depending on your deductions, it's $48,000 you end up with, and you have a check right there for $48,000. Whoa, you can't believe it. And your boss looks at you and says, thanks again, Happy New Year, see you at work tomorrow. Goodbye. Your boss starts to walk away. And as your boss is walking away, something dawns on you. And you call it and you say, oh, just a second, when do I get my next paycheck? And your boss looks at you like, I think I answered that already. Next year. What would you do at that moment? Because it's very likely at this moment you have two very strong sensations competing against one another. On one hand, you're standing there with a check for $48,000. It probably makes you feel really special. It's a lot of money. On the other hand, you know that money has to last you for an entire year. Now, this really, if you think about it, this shouldn't be so bad. You're making exactly what you thought you were going to make in the coming year. The only difference is, instead of getting a little bit of money every 2 weeks, you have it all at once. Now, I will go so far as to speculate. Of course, we'll never know because this scenario would never happen. But I'm going to go so far to speculate that if this happened to every single Canadian, more than half of them would be broke by about May, if they're lucky. Why? Because we eat everything on our plate. That's why. So what are you going to do if you're in this scenario? What could you do? Because remember, if you blow it all, even if you get to October, you still have another 2 months and you need to eat. And you need a roof over your head. And you need to put gas in the car and insure the car and make the car payments. What are you going to do to make sure that you cross the finish line with hopefully more money than zero, but at least break even just in time for your boss to hand you another check on New Year's Day next year? That's where budgeting comes in. Okay? Now, different types of budgets, all kinds of different types of budgets, and that's something, like I said, is more of a one-on-one thing. But if you've struggled to budget throughout your life, whether you're 20 years old or 40 years old or 80 years old, I find, strangely enough, this scenario does kind of, for some people, it kind of starts the process, at least, of things snapping together and saying, wait a second here, I see what this guy's getting at. One of the downsides of being paid every 2 weeks or semi-monthly or every week is people can manage the small chunks, and of course they spend everything. But you give someone a big chunk, and now they're forced to think. They really have to put together a plan. And that's all a budget is. A budget is a plan. And it's there, I would argue, to liberate you. It's not there to constrain you. It's there to liberate you. You're allowed to spend money. That's another video where I talk about just things people spend money on. Anyways, I don't know if that helps. Some people it really seems to over the last 11 years. Other people kind of, but so is life. Anyways, chew on that for a while. Think about it.